next scene we are going to do is our main scene. This is our last one. We're almost there. I know it's been a little bit of time. Actually, it's only been 50 minutes. I thought it had been longer. Perfect. We are right on schedule. So, scene, new scene. Again, the script won't change, but in 2D we'll see that our enemy is now gone. I'm going to zoom back out here just so I can see the full window. We are going to create just a node. A plain, simple node. So just search node, not node 2D, just node. Base for all objects. This is just going to act as our root and keep everything together. And we're going to rename that one to main. As always, make sure you save main.tscn there. So now you've got player, enemy, main, which you can see in your scenes, and you'll see the scripts associated with those ones as well. All right, we are going to add some timers. First timer, rename to mob timer. Make sure you select your root node again. Second timer is going to be score timer. And I'm adding nodes with Control A here. And then the last timer will be start timer. Oops, sorry. Timer, add, perfect. Start timer. Perfect. And then we're going to add a position 2D as well. Okay. So you'll have 3 timers, mob timer, score timer, start timer. Your position 2D here, we're going to name this start position. And then you've got your main as the root node there. All right, save that. All right, now we need to set our wait time. So back in your inspector panel, let's go for mob timer first. 0.5 is the time you want for that one. That's 0.5. Score timer, you want 1. So you don't change that one, keep it the same. And then start timer, we're going to go for 2. Perfect. In addition to that, so I'll just go over those again. 0.5, score timer is 1, start timer is 2. In addition, on the start timer, set one shot property to on. This will mean that the timer doesn't reset, it just goes and finishes. And then lastly, of our start position, we are going to set the position, so just under transform here, we're going to set it to 240 and Y to 450. This will be where the player starts when we spawn them in. That is why we are creating this little spot here that we can reference. Okay, now we are going to work on spawning our mobs. So, as a child of main, so select main again, we're going to add a path 2D. Path follow? No, path 2D. Perfect. All right. You'll see a whole bunch of little tools pop up here that let you add points, delete points, and close curves. What we are going to do is we're going to grab the middle one, add point, and we want to make sure that we've got grid snap on, which is here, and we want to make sure that use smart snap is on as well. All right. That will mean that we could just add points to this screen nicely. So first things first, we want to click up here in the top left corner, 1. Move over to our top right corner of the screen. You'll notice where this blue line is here. If you can't see that one, move a little closer to your screen. We want to click on that one there. We're going to scroll down to the bottom right corner. 2, 3, lastly 4 on our bottom left corner, and then just up here where it says close curve, it's going to click on that button there. We now have a path. So again, that was this middle tool here, add point, 1 in the top left, and then going clockwise around. So the top right, bottom left, and then we click close curve just here to finish off that path. If we draw the path in a counterclockwise order, then it will spawn the mobs outwards. So it is important that you go around clockwise even. Okay. Now we want to right click on our path 2D, or click on our path 2D, sorry, and add node. You want a path follow 2D. This is the next one. Create that there. And that one needs to be a child of the path 2D, not of main. That's quite important. We are going to name our path 2D mob path, and we're going to name this one mob spawn location. So what's going to happen is that this path follow is going to move around our path, and it's going to spawn mobs like we saw in the animation at the start, that are shooting out towards the player from inside the screen. All right, so let's add a script. This will be our last script that we add. So we just click on the attach new script button here, create new, perfect. So we want to export, and then we're going to set this one. We're actually going to give this one a type. So we're going to set this to a packed scene, essentially, or which is the programming terminology for a normal scene. So we're going to get this one, and we're going to call it mob, and we're going to grab score and make that a variable as well. And on ready, we're going to call randomize. This will essentially reset that rand I that we had up here for the mob types, so that you don't get the same random numbers every time, if that makes sense. All right. Next. So, in the main, we are going to go to our inspector properties here. Speed variables in enemy. Speed variables in enemy were 150 and 250. Yep. All right. Let's head back over to main here. Okay, so what we want to do is, you'll see now we've got script variables in your inspector of main, where it says mob, right? We created this export, which shows it up in the inspector. We want to grab our mob scene. So grab your enemy scene here, enemy.tscn, and drag that across and plonk it inside mob. You'll see a little preview show up there. And we have that in there now. We could bring that in through the code, but this just makes it a little bit easier to switch it up in the future, and it makes the reference a little bit easier to see as well. Okay. Next, we're going to set a timer. Okay, so let's have a think about what we need to do now. So next, we need to select the player node in the scene doc. Okay, so we are going to go player.tscn here. All right. We want to grab our signals tab up the top. Sorry, make sure you select the player, the root node, otherwise you won't see them. And we want to connect hit. So connect hit to, right click and select connect. Now, we need to, all right, let's have a think about what we've got to do here. Okay, signal, we want to create a new function called game over, right? So this will get called when the game finishes, when the player gets hit. So in the player, hit, and we want to create a game over method here. Connect. All right, perfect. You'll see this game over gets created here. All right. So, signal connection dialog. This bit is a little bit tricky logically, so just making sure that I do it right. All right. So we've got that game over function there. Connect. Select play node in the scene doc. Access. Node, player, list, find, double click, hit. Yeah. Open the signal connection dialog. Handle what needs to happen when a game ends. Start game over in the receiver method box. Signal. Okay, excellent. Find code. Okay, and then we need a new game. New underscore game method there. I'll just put pass for now so we don't get an error. So we're going to do our game over method first. So the function game over was connected to our hit here. And then this new game is not connected to anything. So first off, game over. We want to... Ooh, what have I done here? I think, actually, we need to have... okay, yep. Sorry, guys. I just made a bit of a mistake there. So we're going to remove our game over and our new game functions here. So the last function in your player will be start. We're going to go back into main, and this was the step that I missed here. We're going to click on this link here, and then we will be able to select player.tscn and bring it into our main scene. I'm just going to bring it all the way up to the top here. This will bring our player that we created here into our main scene, and we will have access to that right here. And this is where the hit comes in. So I'm just going to disconnect this game over that we created earlier in error, and we're going to double click on it again. And now you'll see that we're connecting the hit signal to the main script. So game underscore over. And now we get our game over method that is in the main rather than in the player. And we're also going to create the new game in here as well. So now that we have those in the right spot, again, apologies for that one, we're going to grab our score timer, and we're going to stop that. And we're going to grab our mob timer, and we're going to stop that. What this will do is this will stop the score from increasing, and it'll stop mobs from spawning when we die. Okay, in the new game, you want to reset score to 0. Going to get our player, and we're going to call the start method from here. You'll remember we created that start method here that sets the position, shows it, and re-enables the collision box. So player.start, and that needed a position to pass into it, which is when we use our start position dot position. Perfect. And then last but not least, we want to set our start timer dot start. Okay, so now we've got our game over, which will stop everything from continuing on once we die, and our new game. So the score gets set down to 0. The player.start is given the position that we set earlier. So you remember this little, if I go back to 2D view, this little thing here, our start position, and we've got our start timer will begin, and we will do the functionality for that start timer now. So if we click on start timer, again in your signals, timeout is what we are after. So double click on timeout, on start timer timeout, and connect that just here. So once the start timer times out, we are going to set the mob timer to start, and we are going to set the score timer to start. This will essentially give us, so you remember with the start timer, 2 seconds was our time for that. This will mean that after those 2 seconds are up, mobs will start spawning and the score will start going up. Techie Texter, do you have a question? I see you are typing there. Nope, no worries. All right, last but not least, score timer. We're going to grab the timeout for that as well. This one is nice and easy. Once the score timer times out, score plus equals 1. Make sure you plus equals 1, not equals 1. Otherwise, your score will stay at 1 the whole time, which is not particularly fulfilling for your unsuspecting gamer. Okay, now here is the slightly more complex method. So we will need to make sure that we are paying attention for this one. I'll try and explain it as best as I can. So mob timer timeout. Let's create the method for that one and delete our pass section. Okay, so first things first, we want to pick a random starting location around our path 2D, hence why we created that path. The follow node will automatically rotate as it follows the path, so you don't need to worry about that. But we will need to create some new childs or child scenes for that one. I'm just going to put some enters there to move this one up a little bit higher. All right, let's move into it. So first things first, we want our mob path slash. So when you do that $, you'll see mob path slash mob spawn location. That's what we're after. Dot offset equals rand I. We've seen this one before. This is the random mob spawning or the random number generator. So what that'll do is it'll put our mob spawn location somewhere around the path. Next, we are going to create an instance of our mob. So var mob equals, and then big mob dot instance. You remember big mob up here is our exported one. Exported variables have a capital letter starting with them. And then we're creating this lowercase one here is our local instance. So essentially creating a copy of it that we can move around and throw around. And then we're going to add a child, and that will be the mob that we just created. So we have now created a copy of our mob instance, and we have added it to our scene tree. Next, we are going to get the direction and find again our mob spawn location. Plus pi, capital I, divided by 2. So what this will do is it'll set the mob's direction to be perpendicular to the path direction. So as it is already, we would have, dot rotation. That should be dot rotation, sorry. It would be going along the line. So essentially if it was on this line here, then it would shoot down and travel down like this, which isn't what we want. We want it to come into the scene like that. So that is what we are doing with this line here. Next, we are going to set the position, mob.position equals mob path dot mob spawn location dot position. That one is fairly self-explanatory, sets the mob position to the random location. So you'll remember that we are changing the offset, putting that in a random position every time, and this will set the position to that random position that we are currently at, whatever this frame is. Next one, we want direction plus equals. Remember, direction is our variable up here. Direction plus equals, and then we're just going to make it shoot in a little bit of a range of directions. So we are going to get a rand range, right? And you'll see from float to float. So we're going to do negative pi divided by 4 to pi divided by 4. If you know your radians, this translates to some degrees. I don't know my radians very well, but it gives it a nice little arc for this one. And then we're going to do mob.rotation equals direction. Perfect. We are almost done, guys. Next, mob.linear underscore velocity. Oh, we spell velocity wrong. And then we want a vector 2. Again, a random range somewhere between, and here is where that minimum speed comes in. Minimum underscore speed and mob dot max underscore speed. You'll remember from here we've got min speed, max speed here. Oop, I've got one extra thing there, and 0. So we don't want it moving up, we only want it moving forwards. So it'll be going forwards between the minimum speed and the maximum speed, and it won't be going up at all. So we just set that to 0 afterwards. So that's vector 2. And then the first one is this random range between min speed, max speed, and the y is 0. Next, we would just want to do mob.linear underscore velocity. Still always spell it wrong. Mob.linear velocity. Should definitely get better at typing. Dot rotated direction. What this will do is it will set the velocity to whatever direction we are facing in, so that it doesn't look like we're pointed up but just moving straight left. That would look very strange. We want it to be that we are moving in the direction that we are facing. So that's what this linear velocity dot rotated direction means. You might be thinking a little bit at this point, well, how do I know to type this stuff? And most of it will come through just time. So if you didn't have this, then you would notice that that's strange. My mobs are facing in the direction that I want, but not traveling in the direction that they are facing. So you think, okay, well, how do I fix that? Might Google it, right? You might just know how to fix it. You'd be like, I remember Ben said I've got to rotate it on the direction. And then that will be this. So back up to our ready function. Underneath randomize, we want to add in new game set. So what this will do is start the game. So when we're going to press the big play button this time, and it'll prompt us to select a main scene. So we can say no main scene has ever been defined. Select one. We're going to say select our main scene, open. Okay. Our person is in here, and you'll notice after 2 seconds, we get dudes spawning in, flying everywhere. Don't let them touch you. And if they touch you, you vanish, and they stop spawning.